Pink Hoodie Podcast. Pink Hoodie Podcast. Pink Hoodie Podcast. You're listening to the Pink Hoodie Podcast. You're listening to the Pink Hoodie Podcast. You're listening to the Pink Hoodie Podcast. You are now tuned in with Tyler Wagger. Hold up. Pink Hoodie. With Tyler Wagger. Hold up. Pink Hoodie. Tyler Wagger. Yeah. Pink Hoodie. It's the Pink Hoodie Podcast. Pink Hoodie. It's the Pink Hoodie Podcast. Tune in to the Pink Hoodie Podcast with Tyler Wagger.
It's the only thing my wife cares about.
Yeah.
She's like, you doing another league? Because I was doing like 4 leagues at one point. I was only doing it because people would ask me, and I never want to say no to anybody.
Yeah. Yeah. I wish I gave more of a shit about sports. It's
But I've always
difficult.
felt like that.
Yeah. I started recording, by the way.
I figured.
That's we are.
Yeah. I always felt like I should give a shit about sports. But that was like part of another thing of like how I'm like, all right, I just don't fit in. Like I coached sports forever, and I loved playing sports, and I was good at playing sports. But I always felt like an imposter when it came to like pretending to be like what a guy should be. Like, oh, I was supposed to know random stats that I could spout out at any given moment at a party. And
like I never
know that, and I don't even know what to say to the people who know that. Like, because then like they're like, oh, well, yo, you like this, and like, oh, what do you think of this person? I'm like, I don't know. What'd you think about the trade deadline? The what? Like, I'm not.
Yeah, I have no idea.
I just don't. But I love the magic of like I can appreciate the sport, or I can appreciate like watching a good play happen. Like I'm down with that. I just don't care how much points they scored on the third cycle of a lunar
Eclipse.
Aquarius symbol. I don't know. Like I don't know any of that.
I am an Aquarius.
Are you an Aquarius?
Yeah, I don't know what that means.
It's the age of Aquarius. I don't know what that. I heard somebody say it recently.
Right now, it's the age of Aquarius.
I think it is technically the age of Aquarius. Or no, age of Aquarius was like back in like the 60s and 70s, maybe.
Oh, okay.
It's like
the
this
free
cool
love shit.
Yeah, that thing. I think so.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't know about that shit either. I don't know about astrology. I don't know about sports. I'm just a bad human, I think, in general.
No, you're not.
I know. But I feel like
You're a successful, funny,
that's true.
Good person. I think you're doing
the societal obligations sometimes can be a lot. I think
Yeah. Luckily, once I came out, people kind of stopped giving a shit of whether or not I knew about sports, which has been nice.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, because then it's just assumed it's like, oh, okay, that's just the gay side of him.
Yeah.
That's what I always tell about my. It's like I was raised by 2 moms, so even like my mom, like my one mom was more of like the butcher, like sports side, so that's probably where I got a lot of my sports side from. But then and then my dad, he wasn't a part of my life a lot, but even when he was, he was gay, so he didn't watch sports. I never played catch with my dad, so it was like. I think a lot of that I either was like, oh yeah, it just wasn't in me. I wasn't around. And like if we were hanging around with other like friends of my parents at the time, they were other gay people who didn't have kids because it wasn't popular to be gay and have kids.
True.
It wasn't like it is
very
today.
recently.
Yeah, I was talking about that because I tell a joke. I just had a new joke I was working on where my daughter had come in and was like, oh, Jimmy's got a birthday invite. You just have to RSVP with one of his dads. And she just said it so nonchalantly. And I'm just like, oh, we can do that now? Like, we can just say that? Like, I was like, oh, Modern Family won a bunch of Emmys. I guess we can all just, Kyle can just go around. He doesn't have to hide it, get therapy, and become a stand-up comedian. Okay, well, F you, Kyle.
Yeah.
It's like this whole concept of, it's kind of cool now, but like, I always thought how difficult it must have been for like my parents. As much as I thought like, oh, it sucked for me to have to lie about who was living in my house. Like, man, it must have sucked for them to like deny who they were and not feel like they could be themselves and always have to fake the conversations and be, feel like they had to be interested in stuff they weren't interested in. And it's a different world now, which is great.
It's definitely getting better.
Yeah, you're right. It's incrementally, Yeah, I was thinking at school. I used to used to call it the Gay Straight Alliance, and now it's like the Equality Club or something.
We had that, I think, Yeah, we had the Gay Straight Alliance in our high school.
Yes, I went to Catholic school, so we didn't have any of that stuff. But I had Father Jim knew about my family, so he would like pull me aside if there was going to be like a lesson in theology class, or if the topic was going to come up.
Gayness.
He would give me a heads up so that I like.
He's like, yo,
Just
Jay, they're gonna
prepared.
say some fucked up shit about your parents.
Yeah,
Just sorry beforehand.
Yeah, I forget why, but like at one point, one of the nuns showed the Greg Louganis story. It was like computer class. Like, I don't know why.
Who is that?
So he was a Olympic swimmer who had come out as gay, and this was all during like the worry about AIDS, because that was like pretty much when you said gay in the 80s, it was like, oh, AIDS. Like that was the immediate word association, and then it was like. And then the 90s, it was like the don't ask, don't tell. Like was the transition.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was a story about him being a swimmer, being gay. And I just remember all the kids like making comments when it would be the part where they were showing something alluding to him being gay in the movie. Like being at dinner with a boyfriend or something. It wasn't anything explicit, but there was definitely, and you just hear all the people talking. I remember having a bad day that day. I think I left school early that day. I went to the nurse and pretended I was sick. I was like, I'm out. Because like, I just, you hear people talk. You hear these people who are your friends, supposedly, that slept over your house. Like, I was like, well, if they found out my mom was gay, were her pancakes going to change? Were they not going to taste as good? Like, you just had this, like, I don't know what my 12, 13-year-old brain was thinking, but I know it was like, I think I was just sick of having to lie all the time, because I always felt like I was lying. It was like so exhausting. To like have a sleepover, and then they would use the guest room as like one of their bedrooms and pretend that was always their bedroom. And then like somebody would go to the bathroom upstairs, and I would like feel compelled to like stand at the bottom of the stairs and kind of like look up and be like, all right, when he comes out of the bathroom, is he coming straight down, or does he try to go down the hallway and accidentally go into one of their bedrooms? And I don't know what he thought he was going to walk into. There's no sex dungeon or anything, but like, I just had this fear of...
Ours is over there.
Yeah, yours is over there. They had nudie magazines, which, hey, if you're going to live with two women, you want them to be lesbians, because, like, man, the porn we were able to share, you know what I mean? Like, it was just, every once in a while I could find where they'd keep the stash of the girly mags.
What kind of girlies were they?
It was pretty low-key. It was pretty just like, here's a nurse outfit, and the next page she just doesn't have the clothes on. It was pretty low-key Playboy style.
Like C. Bush?
Yeah.
Okay, nice.
Yeah. There was no, obviously probably for their pleasure too. There were no guys involved.
True, yeah. Get this out of my point.
Well, and my parents are both pretty modest people anyway, so they would probably be shocked. One of them's no longer alive, so I can say that. And my other mom probably won't listen to this, so she will be safe. But I remember they rented Showgirls one time. Do you remember? And for me, it was a big deal because, like, I grew up watching Saved by the Bell, and one of the girls from it was in that, and so it was like her growing up, and now she was going to be naked in this movie. So like, I mean, like, it's like anybody. If a kid today was like, oh, this
Selena Gomez.
Yeah, Selena Gomez is now doing this movie, and you're like, what? Like, and so I remember I bootlegged it. So like they rented it from Blockbuster. So I legit set up 2 VCRs, like this old school Radio Shack in my bedroom, and I connected the 2 VCRs, put the one in the one, put a blank tape in the other, and then recorded it old school style. So I.
Hell yeah. That's awesome.
I miss being a kid and doing like just like when you're just trying to figure it out. You're just trying to figure out like all that stuff. You prank call people. You test the boundaries of everything, And now we're adults now. We can't do that as much.
Yeah, I don't think my brother tested any of the boundaries, though.
So, yeah, because I heard you... I only know your brother from some of your jokes.
I'm, like, mildly rebellious compared to my brother, but, like, compared to a lot of people, I'm not that
He's pretty...
rebellious.
Yeah.
But he is, like, the opposite of rebellious.
So he was always very... Is he really into like, Christian and everything?
Yeah. He, like... It was just, like,
Youth group leader?
No.
Oh, no.
He does volunteer at a church now in Columbus, Ohio. He's trying to get SNIS, though. By that, I mean a wife. He's trying to get married.
Is he doing like Christian
by
Mingle?
tricking a woman into thinking that he's like a good person and volunteers.
Well, that's pretty much what all men do, I think. That's pretty.
I mean, yeah,
pretty
but like,
standard.
I don't know. I want to. I just try to be funny and not like, oh, look at me helping people. I don't know.
It was funny when I met my wife. It was there weren't apps yet, but there were, and I was trying to meet people just like teaching or whatever, being out or whatever, and it never happened. Like I had been in a long-term relationship through most of high school and college, and then we broke up, and then I just for years never found anyone. So I started doing there was a website called PA Singles. And because I had to match and all those cost money. This one was a free one. And, you would like message someone and then you go back and forth. Then eventually you'd exchange phone numbers and then you'd like call and you'd get invested in these people. And then eventually you'd meet and then they would be like look nothing like their photo.
Yeah.
And then it would be weird. And then you're like, okay, you've lied about that. Now, what else have you lied about? And then I'd be in these uncomfortable like Applebee's dates, and then I like when my wife's I was so fed up with it. I was like, all right, well, let me try to go after someone that doesn't seem like a good match because maybe I'm just picking the wrong ones. So I picked my wife's profile said, "Where have all the cowboys gone?" I grew up in a city. I never even like saw a horse. I saw a couple driving here today, but like, the most cowboy thing about me was like I smoked Marlboro Reds and like had a Dallas jersey in middle school. I had like we went. But I immediately was like, "Oh, we got to go out. Like, I don't want to talk to you on the phone. I don't want to do it. We got to go out. I got to meet you in person."
Yeah.
And I was like, "All right, let's go to a place where there's trivia, like on the TV that you could play. So that way, if it's boring, at least we have something to do. So I'm not just staring at you, wondering when this date is over."
Yeah.
And we didn't play trivia. We went and got a table, had dinner, and now we got a couple kids. So it worked out all right.
That's awesome.
But I always felt like I was, and I was like tricking her because like I said I wasn't a smoker. I was smoking like a pack a day, but like I would never smoke on a day we had a date, or I would wear a batting glove and like a shirt that I would then take off immediately. Like I was tricking. I felt like I was.
I would be terrified. Like a stressful date, just like not smoking at all for that day, like beforehand. Be like.
Yeah,
I'll just be shaking.
You gotta put your best foot forward. I gotta trick her into thinking I'm and now I haven't smoked a cigarette in 9 years. My youngest, when my youngest was born, I quit actually when we got married. When we got married, I had quit. So I didn't smoke at the wedding, even with the drinking and all of that, or the honeymoon. And I quit cold turkey, and I did it for a year. And then we went on a 1 year anniversary, and I started back with my old tricks.
Yeah.
But then when we had our second born, I did the pill, Chantix.
Okay.
Worked like a charm. Like a month. It was free. My insurance paid for it. And I only had to take it for a month. And instantly, like the first day, I went from like 20 cigarettes to 10 cigarettes. It was just like, it just happened. It was weird.
Maybe I should. I'm mostly switched to Zins now, but it's still like.
So what is it? So I used to chew tobacco, but it's not like that, right?
No, I got one in right now, Jay.
So you just put it. Okay, and it just sits there.
Yeah.
And so it's like going in through your gums or whatever.
Yeah, it just goes straight into your bloodstream through your gums.
It doesn't create saliva. You don't feel like you have to spit or anything like that.
No. And it's kind of dry. It like
really.
It's just like the area becomes dry eventually.
So I bet you. I can't imagine. I want to know how many kids are probably like that. I'm teaching at any given moment have a Zin in.
I mean, I feel like I don't know. When I was a kid, well, like Zins didn't exist yet. But
like now,
it was
you know what I mean.
Vapes.
Like, I used to catch kids.
It might just be
dipping.
Yeah.
Because I used to dip, and I went to my last school. I went to a boarding school, and so we would go in someone's room, and we had like after our study hall hours, but before lights out, and we would go into somebody's room with empty Coke bottles to spit in.
Yeah.
And then you just dip, and like that was like the big thing. But like people had the guts to do it in class. They would use these bandits that had like the little pouches, so they were kind of contained. The tobacco was in a pouch that you put in your mouth. and the pouch
Okay.
had like these like holes so the saliva could get through or whatever. And some of the guys that were like some of the guys that played like ice hockey and stuff, they were used to having one in and swallowing it. Like it didn't bother them. I'm like, that's not good for you. I was like, your
really
esophagus
bad.
is probably destroyed.
Yeah.
But like they would, and I caught a kid once when I was teaching who was dipping in class. I could just see it. I could just see it because I knew what that looked like. I know what the lip looks
How
like.
old was he?
15, 16.
Oh, okay.
But I knew he was dipping. I took him outside. I'm like, dude, what's in your mouth, man? Come on. It
Yeah.
just, but now it's like vaping. You know, it's like they're
Yeah.
all vaping in the bathroom. Anytime I walk in a bathroom now, it smells like bubble gum or grape or like something. And I'm
Yeah.
I mean, but we used to try to smoke cigarettes in our bathroom, so it didn't smell that nice. You know, you just open a window
It
and
just smells like an airplane.
yeah, exactly. It's like, I mean, like it's all the same. We're all Bart Simpson. We all go through these phases, I think, and even and then when it comes to trying to find a partner or mate, you're trying to put your best foot forward. You're trying to be the self you wish you were half the time.
Yeah. Usually, I self-disclose too much, immediately. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
you're
here's all the bad shit.
Yeah, see, you gotta slow roll that. You gotta.
But I want them to know immediately. So
Yeah,
it's
I
like,
know. I'm an oversharer too, and it's not good. It's not. That's the kind of stuff that you got to let them microdose that shit. You know what I mean? That's
True.
You microdose. You don't throw a bunch of shrooms in your mouth and say let's party. Like you save that and you
That's
just
what I did here
you,
when I attempted suicide.
you just gotta
About 200 yards from here.
yeah 200 yards.
Yeah.
But you got to I want to be so honest with people now because honestly I felt my whole life I felt like I just lied to people and I didn't.
I still feel like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
In what way?
Mainly just to my parents.
Oh yeah.
I feel like I lie to my parents constantly.
Oh yeah.
But I feel
Well, because
like
we want to
have...
be our best version for them. We know they worry.
Yeah. And I don't know. I didn't grow up in an environment where if you confess to things, you would they'd understand.
Yep.
Sort of thing.
Yep. Absolutely.
They weren't like, you can tell us anything and it'll be whatever. It wasn't like that. They weren't like my friends or anything.
No, and then, and to a certain respect, there's a school of thought that that's not their role.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, like even now that I'm a parent, like thinking about, I always feel like I play the counterbalance to the vibe of the house. Like if I try to be the opposite, and sometimes it means harder disciplinarian or just a little harsher with them. Like even yesterday, my youngest had a birthday party at a roller skating rink, and she was like, she got a blister, and then she just went over and was like, she wouldn't put her sock back on, and I'm like, it's the tiniest blister. Just put your sock back on. What are we talking about? And she just, and it was just I had to and then I got her a Band-Aid. And I'm like, you know what? I just had to walk away because otherwise I was just gonna I was gonna make her. It was just gonna be worse for her because I was just going to unload on her in a way that was not gonna be helpful to her.
Yeah.
But it was just me projecting my own insecurities on her. And I'm like, and I do want her to be able to come and talk to me about stuff, but I also feel like I owe her a responsibility to be an honest sounding board of how things are, so that there are consequences. So even if I'll still love her over whatever mistakes she made, I feel like she also has to be able to take the consequences of whatever those actions are.
Yeah, 100%.
So as long as I can be honest with her about that's all my hope is. Because then all my really hope is that if I'm not here anymore, I need to know that she'll be all right. In the same way that I don't.
Yeah.
When they were in a restaurant now, I don't go to the bathroom with them anymore. They go on their own. But I listen to enough true crime podcasts that I'm like, all right, yeah, do I have a clear shot of the bathroom? Is there an exit that somebody could come in near the bathroom that I would miss? I still think about, because as a parent, I think you're always going to be overprotective, but can you can you give the leash some slack? Can you let them off the leash?
Yeah.
It's so hard. And obviously, I have my oldest is special needs. It's I don't know what she's capable of. We're in that period of learning how independent she can be. And So we want to give her that independence. Like even yesterday, we went out to a family restaurant, and she had to go to the bathroom, so she just announced it and she went. And it was in the back, but we'd been to this restaurant enough. She knows where it is. But like I saw some of the younger wait staff come back, and I just had this inclination. I still don't know for sure, but I feel like she must have said something to them that was like weird, because she'll like, and so I could just see them kind of like talking to each other in a way that like they were joking about something, and I don't know. I still don't know to this day, but my initial thought was Alicia said something silly, and now they're all laughing at her about it.
Yeah.
And I had no reason to believe that, other than my own paranoia. So it's funny how, like, you know, even as parents or anybody, we can create we can create in our mind something that might not even really be real. It's just a projection of our insecurities, like,
Yeah.
you know. So I feel like a lot of times lying helps us get over the realities. And like, oh no, that wasn't what was happening, or, you know, because I read a sign on the way over here. It said, it was like one of those like small businesses that uses their marquee to like shove a proverb down your face.
Yeah.
And it said, life is a battlefield. Life is a spiritual battlefield, not a playground. What do you
Is
think
that
about
in the Bible? Is that a proverb?
It's at Ephesians like 6
Do they have
something.
playgrounds in the...
You're right. That was my thing. I'm like, did they
4000 BC?
paraphrase this, or did they really? Because like that would be interesting if it was something where it's like, I'm gonna look it up right now and find out, is this a real quote? So
That's a nice iPhone.
thank you. Life is
Is that the 16?
yes.
Wow.
I was like, I'm using it as for my job.
Is
So
that a Pro Max?
yeah.
Damn.
All right, let's see. Spiritual. Life is a spiritual battlefield. Oh, it looks like maybe they
Jordan Sparks.
Yeah, Jordan Sparks. Not a playground.
One time I went on this date also at a roller rink. Well, that was a birthday party. When I was 17, and this girl that I went out with, we worked at Dutch Wonderland together,
Oh, you did?
and she was like super Christian, because I was only like trying to go out with Christian girls at the time because of my dad, and and she was like, "What's your like life verse?" Do you know what a life verse is?
So is that like something that like a mantra that
Yeah, that you
from
like
the
live
Bible
your life
that you live
by, or whatever.
Wait, and what was hers? Do you remember?
No, I have no idea, but she got upset at me for like not having one. And then for like a day on my Instagram, like I put in like you know, like you put like Bible verses in like your bio or shit.
Yeah.
I just did like one. It was like a Bible verse. I didn't like put the whole verse. I just like did the name of the verse, and it was like the one about like covering up your shit, and like the Old Testament.
Oh, so like how you like? So it was basically you saying like you shouldn't lie, or what was the takeaway?
I was just annoyed at her for getting mad for
You're
judging
just like,
me.
I'm gonna send her
not
like a
having
secret
a-
message of
I was like, "This is my life verse.
This is
about covering
my
up my
life
shit,
verse."
lady."
yeah, you know, and those are the same kind of people like the sports people.
She's a great person, though.
Yeah, of
Shout
course
out to her.
they always are. But like, it's
Wonderful
like
lady.
having to know the stats. It's also like spiritually. Do you know your Bible verses? Like, those are the same people that I don't get along with, or I get along with anybody, but like if I was on a tropical island, I would not want to be trapped next to Ned Flanders
No.
or the winner of anybody's fantasy league. You know, like, you know, those two people are not my vibe. I will say all the people I get to meet doing comedy is such an eclectic group of people. Like, go to any open mic and like it's amazing to see the variety of people that you run into.
Yeah, it's definitely like the most diverse group I feel like I've been a part of.
When you hang out with people, do you hang out with other people you know through comedy, or just
Like my friends,
yeah,
like
just in general?
probably like half my friends are from comedy, half from
just
various
around.
aspects
Yeah,
of
yeah,
life. Yeah.
yeah. That's cool. Yeah, I feel like that. I feel like I'm more of a 90-10 probably at this point of comedy friends to non-comedy friends.
Mm.
Yeah, I feel like for the most part, I'm like I almost when I go to like I was at a party for teachers for the and I've been there 20 years and even that I felt weird. I felt like I used to be the life of those parties. I used to that. Now I think everybody can see that I'm like my heart's just not been as into teaching since the pandemic and how different things have been, and it's like a part of my life that's like, wow, I've been doing it so long, so I got to do the job, and I like doing the actual job, but like the
Comedy's way better.
yeah, oh my God. And it's like I just don't have anything to talk about now. It's like because I'm so used to like I don't want to talk about work, and like when you're
Yeah.
around work friends, like that's pretty much
The
the
gist of
bulk of what
is
you're going to talk.
said.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is I sometimes have a hard time figuring out what I'm going to talk to people about, or like what are we going to chat about? Because if people can't be real, if people could be real and they want to talk about whatever, you know, you almost got to be able to share your vulnerabilities. And sometimes in conversations, people only want to put their best foot forward and only want to, you know, it's like their Instagram filters, and you know they're trying to put a filter on themselves so that you can't see the blemishes.
Yeah.
But then you're not seeing the whole picture. So like to your point, like I like when people are like upfront about whatever, as long as they're not like dumping their dirty laundry on the table of our first date, you know.
Yeah, I won't do that. I mean, I have done that, but I don't do
Like,
that anymore.
dude, I don't envy you having to be out there in the world trying to find a partner, man. That's those days are behind me, so it's like I don't have to worry about impressing. I mean, look at the way I'm dressed. I'm not worried about impressing nobody.
Jay, I've worn the same outfit for the last 3 days.
Yeah.
On the show, I wore this exact same outfit,
Yeah.
and I went to work in the same outfit on Friday, and I didn't change yesterday.
And you have to, and you
I'm not trying to impress
anybody. Yeah. Well, yeah, but
I
you're
only
tall though, so you already get an advantage.
That
got
is
this,
true.
like-
I
you
do
got
dress
this,
like a
like-
slob at work constantly.
Yeah.
But like I work at a call center, and they want us to dress business casual, and like no one sees us.
Yeah, because you're
Just
just
5 people
Are
in a
you in
room.
basically like a cubicle thing, or?
Yeah, it's like just one office room with like 8 computers and like
Yeah.
5 people in there.
Do you interact with the people you work with?
Yeah.
Are they cool? Are they?
All of them are cool except like one.
Yeah.
All the call takers are chill.
Yeah.
Some
You're
of-
basically
some
just
of the
waiting for people to
dispatchers
say
are
they got a flat tire.
Shitty
Yeah.
people.
Is that your deal? Like you're waiting for that? Because I have triple. Like you're like, I don't want to say it online. I already said it, but like you're just waiting for them to call and be like, oh, I got a flat tire. I got whatever.
Yeah, my car is blowing up on the highway.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You
Finally.
probably get some good ones.
One time, one of the funniest end to a call I had was like, it was very sad, but it was this like old guy, and he's like getting his car like towed because he like got in a little bit of an accident. He's like, oh, I was gonna go to a funeral today, but I guess that's not gonna happen. And then he just hung up the phone. And I was like, dude.
Man. I was like, well, call an Uber, my guy.
Yeah, I was like, why are you just gonna say that and then hang up immediately? What are
Yeah,
you...
right. Oh, that poor guy. Yeah, it's funny when you find people who are just like, because you're like, you know, so an accident just happened or their whole day changed, and you know, it's amazing. Like I had somebody hit me recently. I was driving to work, and I was on the main road, and this car like just came across the main road and like clipped the back bumper. Like I had already been mostly through the intersections. They just must not have been looking.
Yeah.
And just clipped their front bumper, just barely clipped my back bumper, and just did like $3,000 worth of damage though, because it was the whole bumper.
Damn.
And like then they just took off. They just like ran so then it was just like,
Yeah.
I hate, you know, but people get into panic. Like that person must have panicked and then just was like, all right, I'm taking off.
Yeah.
You know, people are like, there's like the equivalent of hanging up. Like, oh, I should stop, and you know,
Yeah.
I have insurance and everything, but people are like, we make weird decisions. I once, I've had I've run into people in accidents all the time. Like, I'm the first responder on a couple like serious ones. Like I had one time I was driving home, first couple years into teaching. I was going home to Scranton for the break, and I was
Ooh, I
going up.
banged a lady in Scranton once.
Did you? Yeah, there's a lot of
A
them up
beautiful
there.
Puerto Rican lady named Gabby. I'm
Ah.
gonna have to bleep that out. Fuck. 42 minutes in.
There you go. I will say I was driving up, and then all of a sudden there's like a thin median that runs all the way up 476, and there's just you can see marks on the median of like dragging, and a minivan just on the left side in the passing lane
Yeah.
stopped, and it's kind of like in towards the median a little bit, and I see another car had pulled over, so I pulled over. And I always feel compelled to pull over. I always do. And it was like an army guy or whatever. And he's like, yeah, the person's passed out in the minivan. They were just passed out. And we didn't know what happened to them.
Yeah.
And the doors were all locked, but the driver's window was cracked maybe, I don't know, like 4 inches or so. And
Damn, that's a big 4 inches.
yeah, she had small hands. So I got up for some reason. I got up on the hood of the car, and I had to put my right foot on the median where the other lanes of traffic were going, and I'm like Spider-Man and trying to shove my hand down, and it was like shove my hand down and try to get the lock.
Yeah.
And I couldn't reach it, and then the army guy threw me a bottle of water, and I was like shook it on the person's head to like wake them up, and they woke up, and they saw me like a fat Spider-Man on their hood of their car, and like their finger. I was trying to guide their finger, and they were clearly in shock. Guide their finger to unlock the door, and then we could get into the other side or whatever.
Yeah.
But man, it was.
Damn, you're like a superhero.
It was crazy. That was just one. Then in high school, I was like in college. I was driving. We were going Christmas shopping, and we were coming back from me and my buddy, and we were coming back, and I heard this car revving. It was like a Camaro flying up behind me, and then all of a sudden it just had switched out to the other lane, but it was 2 lanes of oncoming traffic.
Yeah.
And it tried to pass me, but couldn't, and then tried to get in front of me and like fishtailed out because they were going it so high, and then ended up like hitting the cars in the oncoming traffic, and they all like spun out, and it was like a triangle of carnage around my car. Like my car was untouched except for all the glass flattened all 4 of my tires, but like my car was fine, and it was just like this triangle of cars around me. And like I remember getting right out, and I'm grabbing my phone. I sprung into like EMT mode, and I'm calling 911. And I heard a woman screaming, so I went there first. And there was a woman who like tried to dodge the car and ended up T-boning into the guardrail. And it turns out she was a surgeon who couldn't work anymore after that because she had chronic pain, so she couldn't stand for long periods of time anymore. And then the Camaro that had tried to pass me, like the driver was like had his head bleeding, was like crawling out, and it was on another embankment, and apparently one of the kids in the Camaro flew out the back window and went down into the trees, into this like drop of a cliff.
Jesus.
And then there was another one who flew out the car, but was like halfway on the road, halfway under the guardrail.
Oh my god.
And I had to try to give CPR to that kid, and he didn't make it. I think he was already done.
Damn.
So
that sucks.
Yeah, so it was intense. I just remember how like, yeah, so it's crazy being on the scene for all of that, because it is like people either react really well.
Yeah.
Or they're terrible. Like my buddy who was in the car with me, like my mom was a nurse. So like I was like, oh, my mom's got a medical supply bag, because the guy was like bleeding, so I want to cover my mouth. I'm like, she's got to have something in the car. He goes in the trunk and finds everything but her medical bag that was just sitting there. And he's like bringing out like a box of gauze. I'm like, what do you, like, he was just so frazzled. He just couldn't handle it. And, you know, it's interesting. You find out what you're made of. Like, yeah, it's like, God bless EMTs, because you got to have, it's got to be in you to react, and or even call center people. I mean, imagine being a 911 call person.
Yeah, that's way different than AAA. But
yeah, that's a little bit different.
Those are the actual heroes.
Oh, it's insane.
Yeah.
It really is crazy. It is. So my parents were nurses. So like one was a psychiatric nurse. so you've seen all the crazies all day.
Mm.
And then and my other mom worked
Clarion, PA. Did she ever work there?
Where?
Clarion, PA.
No, Clark's. There was one in
never met
Clark
her, then.
Summit
Clark Summit.
and Norristown.
Okay.
There was a state hospital in Norristown too. My mom was a social worker for a period of time too, and then went to nursing school later on. So yeah, they're always in helping people. So so it's like my one mom was from Australia originally. She was delivering babies at like 18 to like Aborigines in the outback.
Wow.
It was like crazy. Yeah, like
That's crazy.
Yeah, she had lived a crazy life. She had married a guy in the military first, a U.S. military guy, and was stationed all over the world with him for years before she met my mom. They met my mom met her at they were at a nursing convention or something like that where they met. But like, yeah, it was crazy how much living with someone who grew up in another culture like that. Yeah, I had someone in my house from Australia, and who had lived in Spain, who had lived all over the world. So even though I grew up in like the middle of coal mine Pennsylvania, I had a lot of culture, or I at least had a better understanding of
the world.
Yeah, the worst part was though my bathing suit was always a swim team bathing suit growing up, because like for her, like she had kids from her previous marriage too, and they were much older, but they always grew up wearing Speedos. And I was on the swim team and stuff like that, so I grew up wearing Speedos. I didn't realize it wasn't normal until like I started going to birthday parties when I was like 11. Like, oh, this is awkward.
That's funny.
This guy takes swimming way too seriously. We're just trying to cannonball off the side. And I show up like Michael Phelps.
It's like the bikers with the bike shorts. It's like,
well, now, well, now the swimsuits at least have like, they're not like I guess they still do have those, but some of the guys wear the longer short style ones now.
Yeah. I don't mind a Speedo, but I'm gay a little bit.
Yeah, Oh yeah, Speedo is, you see what you're getting. No different than a girl with a bra on.
True. I'm a top though, so I don't really care about the size of the.
I was just learning the different. Like I didn't realize the terminology.
They still don't know what that is.
Yeah.
I don't know if I said this publicly yet. I guess my dad's on the roof or something. I don't know what he's doing.
What? Yes.
When I came out to my parents, I told them that I had sex with a guy, and then I was like, I still had some like internalized like homophobia. I guess like I didn't want like my dad to think I was like getting fucked. That he would have somewhat more respect for me if I.
Is this better if? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gay, but listen.
And I was like, Dad, I was the one pitching the ball, if you know what I mean.
If you know
I was not the receiver.
Or that you had to have the talk with your parents. You're like, listen, let me sit you down.
He was just brushing his teeth in that bathroom there, and he's just like shaking his head, and he's like, I'm going to bed. And that was it.
Yeah, it's funny because it's like, depending on, I know of plenty of friends who had family members who just can't compute anything that's not, you know what I mean? Like, it's just this concept of like, we're just going to pretend it doesn't exist. Their brain just can't, like, it hits overload, and they're just like, yeah, I can't process this information. Which must have been how my parents felt, like, because I don't think they came out. I don't think they came out to their parents ever. I think they waited for them to die.
Yeah.
Because I can imagine, like.
I waited for my grandparents to die to tell my parents.
Yeah.
At least my mom.
Yeah. Yeah, that's like. But at the same time, it's like they showed their support in ways, even if it's not the ways, I guess, that we would want. Like, I think people just have a hard time processing that. I think even as like when I would start telling girlfriends about my family as we were dating, I'm like, all right, at some point they're gonna know, or I have to tell them, and wondering what they were gonna feel. But I'm like, that's nothing compared to like having to tell your parents that you are, you know what I mean? Like that's
Yeah.
a very different experience, and I can't imagine. I can't imagine the difficult. I was trying to joke in my act about it. Oh, well, what if I had to tell my parents I was straight? Like, I was like, yeah, I had to come out straight. My dad would be so mad. I just wanted my dad to be proud of me. I'm like, look, Dad, jazz feet. And he's like, no, Jay, it's jazz hands. Jesus Christ.
I like that a lot. Yeah.
Because I think I just want to poke. Cause that's what I love about comedy. Is just like I want to poke fun at some of these heavy topics.
Yeah.
That like create tension, and then how can you break that tension? Because sometimes we don't get that tension broken. You know, or even daily stuff with my daughter. Like I'll laugh stuff off now because I have to. Like my daughter was having a meltdown on the car ride, and then she started singing songs, but she was trying to offer chocolate to her sister, and Katie didn't want the chocolate, but she was so upset that Katie didn't want the chocolate. She started singing a song about shoving chocolate down her throat. And she's like, but then all of a sudden she's like, to the tune of head, shoulders, knees, and toes. Like she just like went into this thing where she was like, I'm singing a song, and like it was a recital, and she had to announce what she was singing. It was so adorable, and it just broke the tension of the car ride when it happened. Because my wife just like had this face on her, like, oh, this is so adorable, but she's also struggling right now because you need that. You need to break tension, otherwise it could just be too much. That's why everybody needs an outlet. I don't know. That's what obviously comedy's that for me, but other things too, like I like to lift weights and stuff like that, so I try to get to the gym like 2-3 times a week and just to lift, because I think it's just something about like, oh my God, I'm strong, something I can do. There's something about that to just get that bar off your chest, and like so you get to push the aggression, otherwise it's unhealthy. I used to be like a hitter. I'd kick my own ass if I felt like I had like done something wrong, or
like you'd hit yourself.
Yeah. I was like big into that. Like that was, or even when I would like lose a game on the Sega or something. I played Sega back in the day, but like I get so mad, and I would like throw the controller, and I'd be just it could just get so unhealthy if you don't have. You become like a teapot without a spout, and it's just. I was posting, it could be dangerous. I posted today. Today was the 4 years today that I got up at an open mic and said, hey, I'm gonna try to tell some jokes instead of sitting in the audience. Yeah. And how liberating that was when I got over that fear and did it. And then it was just like, then it was kind of became this thing like, oh, well, what can't I do now? I can do whatever I want. Like if I'm willing to get up in front of strangers and talk about the stuff talk about this stuff, like that's liberating. Everybody needs something like that in their life, whether it's a kickboxing Peloton class, whatever. We need that outlet, or building churches in Ohio so that you can impress a girl, whatever.
Giving homeless people some shitty food so you can maybe get pussy in the future.
Hey, people have done all sorts of worse things in the name of pussy. No, I don't know.
No, I hope he gets married. I hope he finds a good woman. I want to be an uncle so bad.
How old is he?
But it's not going to happen he's 30.
Okay, he's 30. Oh, okay, yeah.
But he's
not had any prospects.
He's never kissed anybody that isn't related to him on the mouth. So.
No. Really?
Yeah, and he's not like a troll or anything.
Yeah.
And his personality is not the greatest.
What does he do for a living?
That's the also thing. He has a lot of money. He's a millionaire, Jay.
No shit.
He's a finance guy. He has his own house in Columbus.
Really?
And
man.
no one's knocking on his
No, it's
penis
not nice.
door.
Well, he could hire someone, I'm sure. It's like
Yeah, but he wants a good, clean Christian
clean Christian. I mean, she'll be whatever you
woman
want.
that will do whatever he wants.
He's
Sort of
like
thing.
a pretty woman. And get, like, you need Julia Roberts to walk in.
But he wants a virgin though. Julia Roberts wasn't a virgin in that
Oh
movie.
yeah.
He would never go for a beautiful streetwalker like Julia. He couldn't overlook that, even though he's supposed to be forgiving.
Even though he's supposed to be forgiving. I don't have a sibling, so but I can appreciate that's such a unique relationship where were you guys ever close like when you were really young?
When we were like really young, yeah.
Yeah, I do. I
probably
do like
stopped
some of the
around,
jokes
like-
you talk about. They're kind of funny. Between you, like, we don't really have much to talk about.
I'm like trying to like write more about him, but like honestly, like I don't. He doesn't tell me anything.
Yeah,
Like I know he loves baseball. He loves collecting baseball cards. He's trying to get a lady. It's not working out. He makes a lot of money. He's very,
He's like,
he's very stingy. He won't spend any money on anybody. He's saving up a nest egg for this imaginary wife,
and by the time that happens, he'll be some guy calling a
conservative
call center on his way
Christianity.
to a funeral and just hang up after he gets in a car wreck.
Yeah, it'll be me. I was gonna go to my own brother's funeral. Then he called the ghost of me.
The ghost of you. Yeah, he needs to. He's in the reboot of A Christmas Carol.
Yeah, I don't know how to make fun of him without sounding like I hate him. You know what I mean?
Well, like I said, I think
do
the
love
I
parts
think
of
the
him.
sibling. I think that's very, very much what I would assume a sibling relationship is like, especially if you guys aren't the same kind of people. You know, and
Like
I know.
I can't be like real with him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he'll tell me his beliefs like politically, but like how he really feels about things, like I don't know.
Yeah.
Now he is feeling, he won't give me anything.
Yeah.
I told him that I tried to kill myself once, and this is how he reacted. This is how he reacted. He was like, blah, 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 I don't want to hear that, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, you're like fucking 28.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fucking
And how old are
get
you?
a grip.
You're young. You're like,
I'm 25 right now.
25. Yeah. And how long ago is that happened?
It was like a couple years ago.
A couple years ago. Yeah. And
Yeah, 2022.
How were your parents' reaction to that? Same.
They were worried.
They were worried. How did you know that they were? Did they say we're worried?
Well, I was on mushrooms, and then then I ran out of the house.
Yeah.
They're like, where is Tyler?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I was just in the hospital.
Do you still do mushrooms?
No. I mean, I did it. The first time I did it, that's when the bad shit happened.
Yeah.
And then I took it like 2 more times with this lady.
I've heard nothing but I've heard that it always catches up with you, depending on who you're with, right? Or
Yeah, and then I kind of had
Sure.
like somewhat of kind of like a flashbacky similar situation the first time, and I tried to like get out of the house and kill myself again, and then my dad like tackled me and my foot went through the front door,
oh shit.
and then they handcuffed me and took me to the hospital again,
Wow.
and that's where I got the scar on my hand.
So you became like a different person essentially.
I just like lost my mind, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like I had like a panic attack, and I was like, I have to kill myself again.
Because it's like putting a Mentos in a Diet Coke. It sounded like
Yeah.
it just was not something that was not meshing. So in reality, it's like anything. You just don't know. I really believe in like these concepts of like allergy almost. Like I think we all like people who are alcoholics. They have an allergy. To this, like that it's not allergy in the sense of it's pollen season, but like allergy in the sense
You
that
walked past the beer distributor.
there's really an issue
Yeah.
that's beyond control, and I think that's too. Like I'm sure you've at least dabbled in 12-step programs. I would imagine, as have I. and I've even been to like ones that were for family members, like it's people who were alcoholics, and they had like Al-Anon, which was like a support group for people whose parents are, so you get to learn the steps and those kind of things. And I think that's why people are able to get spiritual on some level, because that's like where I'm at. Like when I read that sign today about the spiritual battlefield, like, you know, part of me is like, I don't believe that this is all by chance. Like, I mean, I'm looking at like there's a foosball table here and a fan. Like I mean, like all of these things that like I can't imagine that this just got slapped together randomly.
Yeah.
You know, there's just too much here. But do I want to get into the fine details of subsection A, paragraph 2? No, I don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't want to get that, because to me that's like placing a bet when you're like, oh, you could go like roulette. You can go red or black, or you could pick a specific number. Well, why am I going to pick a specific number? That seems like, why am I going to put all my chains that it is that God that these people are telling me about, instead of just saying like, I believe that there are forces of good and forces of evil. I'm more of understanding that we can kind of, we have some level of free will or whatever, but at the same point, I'm like, I don't want to get into the weeds of what God looks like, or it's a guy or a girl or a this or a that. Like, I just want to follow the tuning fork inside me. That's kind of like, this is good. What I'm doing is good. I'm on the right path. I'm going to stay on this path. And, we know when we're not doing right. We know when we feel like crap and we feel like we want to binge watch, Dance Moms or whatever. Like, I'm just shouting out random things that I would never watch.
Watch porn for 2 hours. Yeah. I would never do that.
My wife came in the other day and she's like, are you watching Dance Moms? And then she found out I was doing it on purpose. Like, I selected it. It wasn't like it was on TV. My girls were... No, I was watching Dance Moms. And
The Bachelorette is my show.
What's that?
The Bachelorette.
The Bachelorette.
I like The Bachelorette and The Bachelor.
I'll dabble. You know what Love is Blind is?
I don't have Netflix anymore, but I saw the first part with my
I would, and I'm big into like the AGT, America's Got Talent, The Voice. Like,
I auditioned for AGT once. Did I tell you that?
No.
I have the photos I can show you. When I was 17, the first time I did stand-up was at AGT in Philly.
Really?
For like the cold call, not the cold call, but like the auditions.
What was that like?
I mean, I wasn't like in front of like peers.
No.
It was just like a producer
lady.
Yeah,
just a producer, and then they tell
in
you
like a room.
Yeah.
It was fine. Like the producer lady laughed, and some of the people laughed, but like.
Yeah.
It was okay.
Then
cool. I got an email like 4 months later. It was like, you were not selected.
You were not selected. Yeah, that's funny. I did a reality show once, so I was in the running for 2. One, Biggest Loser had given me a call back, and I had to make a video and had to do a bunch of stuff, and then had to go meet after the open call one. I had to go meet the producer separately the day after, and then they gave me some other things to do, and then I just didn't get picked for that season or whatever. And then there was another one that, because they had me on file from that one and had liked me, they pitched another one where it was Waiting for Love, and it was like, it was couples, and then one of the couples had to be willing to go away, and then you guys had to not see each other for so long, and one did all of the stuff at home, the other did it at the ranch or wherever, and then there would be a reveal where you guys would come back together at the end and see your new selves after having been away for whatever months. And I was like, that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
And we had, we got pretty far in that one.
What was that called? I'd love to see if it's still out.
It never came. It never ended up coming. It never ended up getting made, I think, was what happened, because it was the people who did The Amazing Race on CBS. It was those and Survivor.
Yeah.
So it was like some big names of the producers.
Yeah.
And it was funny because it was like it was all on Google Drive, so like I could see the activity of stuff. So like they were always looking at our files and stuff, which was kind of cool, and sharing stuff. So like things were happening, and it just never. I think they just never got picked up, so they never made the pilot. But I'm like, oh, that'd have been
awesome,
cool.
though. Yeah.
That'd have been cool. But yeah, I was, but that wasn't for stand up. I wouldn't even think about doing stand up yet. But now, like, I thought about maybe trying out for AGT or, you
Yeah,
know.
I think you need like an agent now versus like I don't think people like get in for like the cold call auditions.
Oh
That's what I
yeah,
heard from someone. I don't know if that's 100% true.
yeah. I would imagine now it's at that level.
Cause
I know a few people that have been on it, and one like I work with Julia Scotti, who was the trans comedian that was on and made it through to like the
yeah,
quarterfinals.
huh.
So I work with Julia a lot. So I'm sure Julia would. I have and then I have another person, Becky Viduccio, who's a comedian out in New York City, pretty much. And she was also on it.
Okay.
Didn't make it as far, but had been on it. So
Do they have agents?
what's that?
Do they both
Yeah.
have agents? Okay.
Yeah, they both do. Well, Julia definitely does. Becky did a lot of work on movie sets. She used to be a personal assistant to, I think, Ralph Fiennes,
Okay.
who was a pretty big actor.
That's fucking Voldemort, I think.
Is it?
I think so.
Yeah. So yeah, so she was always on movie sets with them. So it's kind of cool. So yeah, it's interesting.
That's
The
awesome.
people I've you get to meet that. It's like 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon. Like
Yeah.
all the people. I remember reading like Kevin Hart's book, and he was mentioning people that I have in my phone from like shows I've done, like Buck Wild and Tommy Too Smooth and some of these other ones. I'm like, wow, and I'm like 2 degrees from Kevin Hart.
Yeah.
It's funny how small the comedy world can be too.
Yeah. That's why I like it though. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. It's fascinating to me. Like the whole now as I'm more embedded in it, it's wild. I really enjoy. I enjoy every part of it. Just even going to the open mic still and all of that. Like, it's fun. I did a show in Hershey last night, which was great. We had probably about 150 people came out, and
Mark Stoudemire?
Yep.
Yeah. Hmm.
and they paired up with a cat shelter, so it was like a fundraiser show.
Hell yeah.
So it was a good turnout of people. Yeah, we had a good time. I did like 45 at the end,
Hell yeah.
and that was fun. It was cool because it was good energy. It was good energy in the show we did together on was that Thursday. That was fun, and then
That was really
Friday.
fun.
Thursday was good. Like I said, I couldn't hear past the first row, so it was a little. I didn't realize the back was enjoying it at all. But my wife confirmed that they were.
They were.
Yeah, so that was good. But then I did this audition. Drove up to Jersey City. There's a club just outside that, just by the Holland Tunnel there, that does like 5 shows a week.
Okay.
But they only were picking people that have some kind of credit. But it looks like they're pretty loose with what a credit was. But I saw somebody put like iTunes. I'm like, oh, is that a real credit?
What, they have an iTunes account?
Yeah. But yeah, so I got on with the board teacher's credit, and I had to send in a tape. And then when I sent the tape, they asked me for another tape that didn't have as much crowd work up front. And listen, I don't do a ton of crowd, but like I do host quite a bit. So like, and I do talk to the crowd in the beginning, and I do a lot of work at Soul Joel's, and I think I sent them something from Soul Joel's, and because I do so much work there, I try to do crowd work because I want them to get a different
Show every
show
time.
every time, and then I kind of let that guide what jokes I tell that set, so that way I know I'm not telling the same exact set every time.
Yeah.
So I think it was just a little bit of that, but then I'm like, okay, this guy's asking for a lot, and then it's like, all right, well, you can come do a 6-minute audition spot. So I drove 2.5 hours for a 6-minute spot. Now they fed me; they let me order something from the restaurant, so that was nice. But
That's
then
nice.
parking was like $9 and
Yeah.
tolls, and luckily I was getting enough from like some of the other shows, getting paid on some of those other shows allows me to take a risk with some of those other things where it's like, all right, I'm not getting as paid for this, but
Yeah.
I can write off all the taxes. I didn't realize that. I had to get a new accountant for comedy stuff, and they helped me realize how much I can write off, and so that was helpful because a lot of the stuff, like, nobody takes taxes out, like all the board teacher stuff I do, and some of those, like, I have to remind myself that every check I get, I have to take 25% of it and pretend it doesn't exist. So that I don't get hit at the end of the year for taxes.
Yeah.
But like my tolls are ridiculous. Dude, if you saw the amount of tolls I spend in a year,
Jesus.
thousands of dollars in tolls.
Wow.
It's like crazy. Yeah. So it's like, because I just do Easy Pass. It's like, well, you don't know. You're just like driving.
Yeah,
Then
just
through the thing. I don't know what.
go the
And
Easy
every
Pass
once in a
line.
while, $105 come out because that's like the replenishment like standard. So
Yeah.
like, but like every time I go to New York, it's like $50-$60.
True, yeah.
I mean, you're getting popped for the Jersey Turnpike a couple times, the PA Turnpike, the tunnel or the bridge.
Yeah.
So it's like, now luckily when I work for a comedy school up there, so they reimburse me for the times I go up. So I try to double up. I try to go up and
That's
try to get
smart.
shows when I have to be up there for the comedy school, because then at least I'm getting the more bang for my buck.
Mm-hmm.
So I passed the audition, so he gave me an avail sheet. So I just tried to put all the avails of when I'm already going to be up there. So
Hell yeah.
at least it's at least it's already taken care of. So yeah, no, it was something I never thought I'd have to worry about, but it's a fun problem to have. But
Yeah.
I'm doing a lot of schools now and conferences. I got my first conference. They're sending me to Rhode Island in May to
Wow.
do stand up for a early childhood development conference,
Hell yeah.
which is kind of fun.
That's awesome.
They're not as fun. Like, don't get me wrong, they're not.
Yeah.
They're okay, but like it's never set up like a club. It's like a big banquet hall. The lighting's trash.
Mm.
And you never know where they shove the comedy in. It's not like strategically placed.
Yeah.
It's usually to break up the day or start the day off.
Yeah.
So it's a little corporate-y, but
Yeah. I had to turn down some corporate stuff because I didn't have enough clean material.
plain material.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a hard way. And I've been noticing I've been using, not that I'm not clean, but I've noticed I've been using the F word more. I am like, as like just little pieces here and there in my, and it doesn't sound, it's not egregious, but like it's not clean, or it's not like church clean,
It's not church clean, but
but it's clean.
It could
The
be
material's
clean.
clean.
Yeah.
And I'm not, I always have tags of stuff, of things that I just never get to the director's cut. That's and when I do the late night laughs, that's when I can kind of play a little bit with some of the darker stuff that I have. That,
yeah.
but like last night, not the white people at the Hershey Winery for the cat shelter
Yeah.
rescue. Yeah.
I did fuck, what's it called? Benefit show for owls for the ASPCA, and we raised like $6.
Yeah, those owls are safe now.
We got them all. We saved them.
They're safe.
Now we just spent money on the bullets to shoot them.
Yeah, it was like my cousin Vinny when he's trying to stay in that cabin. Have you ever
Yeah.
seen that movie?
I have seen it actually. I haven't seen
That's
it in a
one of
while.
my favorites. If that's on, I watch it
What's your favorite movie of all time? Would you say?
all time. See, it's hard because it's mood. Movies for me are mood. Like so, one that like one I watched a ton There's two that I watched a ton growing up: Beverly Hills Cop 2 and Major League.
I haven't seen either of them. I want to see both of them. I just haven't seen them yet.
Those are two of just classic for me because like I had an uncle who would record movies and he'd like get the bunch of the blank VHS tapes and you could record because it was like 8 hours of footage. You could put 3 to 4 movies, and that's what he would do. And so when he would come visit on holidays, he'd bring a suitcase of just stuff, and he'd like. It was like one, he did all the Ninja Turtle movies for me when I was a kid, or the live action He-Man from like the 90s, and then do stuff for my parents or whatever, and bring stuff. So I would, when they were at work, I would go and watch the stuff I shouldn't be watching.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's Okay, Beverly Hills Cop 2. There's a scene in the beginning where he like meets this guy. He's like trying to pretend he's undercover and like. And he's like, oh, and then one guy's like, hey, meet Marcy. She can suck a golf ball through 30 feet of garden hose. It's just such a. And I remember hearing that phrase and never quite understanding what it meant. Like, just like all the innuendos just go right over your head, and
But you kind of knew what it meant deep down.
yeah, but yeah, exactly. You're like, you had an inkling.
You're like, it's dirty somehow, but I don't know
but I'm
how.
not quite sure. Yeah. Yeah, that's. Oh man, those were the innocent days. Now we all know too much, and that's the other thing for kids now. You can know all the things now.
Yeah.
Like, that's scary. Like, you can know everything. You can just Google search your way into knowing everything. I couldn't do that. Like,
Yeah, I think I knew everything at like 14 because that's when I got my smartphone.
yeah. See, that's so you were able, like,
But I was able to
I was
have
well
a
into
regular
college.
childhood
Internet,
for the most part.
internet in a room that wasn't dial up just started when I was a freshman in college.
Okay.
So it was just, and it wasn't smartphones yet. It was like still flip phones. Your phone could have internet on it, but like
It was hellish to
God, it was
use.
like, yeah. It looked like Tetris. It looked like a Game Boy in Tetris. It just was not.
It's like the font.
Yeah, it was just so bad. You
itself.
just never could use it. Yeah, so nothing like today. Yeah, thinking about this thing I got next to me here, it's insane how much you can do. Like, even we had to drop my wife's car off to get inspected, and like we didn't have the copy of the registration, or she couldn't find it, so I'm able to pull it up on my phone. Got a new copy. I'm able to sign it on my phone so that it's signed, and then email it off to them. So that they can still have it, even though I don't have a paper. It's like crazy. You can all the stuff you can do. Or if I forgot my wallet, like I did forget my wallet, that's why I was late for today. But I didn't have my ID. I was like, oh well, if I didn't feel like I needed my ID, I'd be fine because like my iPhone has my wallet and I have all my cards on there, and I can just tap at Wawa.
Yeah.
So it is kind of cool the things we can do now. But I had a beeper in high school. Do you know?
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
It's like a one step up from smoke signals. It's just one way telecommunication device. And like I used to have a joke where I'd be like, if you had a beeper, you were either a doctor or a drug dealer.
Yeah.
And nobody was accusing me of being McDreamy. I was probably closer to Dre.
Are there any drug dealers on this plane? Beep, 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 beep.
But like, and and it was funny too, because like, we had codes. You do like codes, right? Like you didn't have emojis or anything, but like you could put like 143 at the end, and it was like I love you, because it was one was the number of letters in each of the three words. And then
Just put like boobs with like eights or something.
And I had a girl that would send me like a girlfriend who would call me and like leave a message, and then I'd have to look on the phone, and like I'm like breaking the Da Vinci Code.
Yeah.
And like I'm like a decoder ring. Or if you ever watch the Christmas Story movie that plays on loop on Christmas, there's this
With Alfie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like he's like, drink your Ovaltine. He's like in the bathroom trying to do the decoder thing. It was like that essentially. It's like, and
Wasn't it stressful?
And I had a girlfriend that I was trying to break up with, and she was psycho. And so she texted me this long string of numbers, and I mapped it all out, and it literally came up to be 3 words: knife in hand.
Jesus.
Yeah.
That's scarier than I'm gonna kill you.
I know. I mean, she thought she was going to win me back with a slice of cheesecake. I don't know what she thought. But
Yeah.
But yeah.
Here's some lasagna.
Yeah, I was like, I'm a
Or I'm
going to
stab you because...
She just should have texted me whiz wit, and I'd come running.
How long did it take you to figure out the knife?
It was, I don't know if it was a Die Hard and the bomb would have went off, but like, it was like, I was working. I was putting some time.
I feel like I would be very mad.
Like 10, 15 minutes.
I would be upset if I was working on something for 15 minutes and it was like, I'm going to stab you.
Yeah.
Like, fuck you, lady. No.
I think so this poor girl, I thought she was unstable, but did not get sympathy for me because I guess I wasn't returning her calls or whatever. So she was trying to provoke me to, so she wouldn't harm. I guess she was going to harm herself. I don't know. Yeah, but she was. Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe I don't know where she's at now, but hopefully.
Hopefully, it's in a better.
Yeah, she's in a better spot.
She's in a knifeless
She was
area.
it was a rabbi's daughter at a reformed temple in Scranton that I was at the time, and her dad actually got kicked out of being the rabbi for looking up porn on the temple's computer.
Kiddie porn or regular porn?
Ooh, I don't know. Good question.
Because I feel like if it was regular porn, they could have.
You could have, like, yeah. I think it probably.
Done
Well, I think if it
something.
was kiddie porn, he would have been locked up, and I don't think he got locked up. So I think it was just porn, and then they didn't want to pay his salary anymore.
Yeah, they had dirt on him for other stuff, probably.
Yeah. So.
Didn't Ted Cruz do that? He like looked up porn on like
Probably.
his own Twitter or
Everybody
something.
looks up porn. Come on. Yeah, like, it's like I was like my phone. I'm like, I gotta be in DuckDuckGo. You gotta get like a private browser because my daughter's gonna like pull up something like, Daddy, let me use your phone.
Yeah,
And it'll be some pop up ad from like Pornhub.
yeah, live Jasmine.
Yeah, yeah. Find people in your area to jerk off with.
Yeah,
It's like,
I haven't clicked on one of those in like 7 years.
yeah, it's a.
I was like, I remember being like 18. I'm like, finally, I'm a legal adult. Maybe these singles in my area will fuck me. And I'm like, oh, never
Dude, we
mind.
could. Back in the day too, you had sex phone lines. Those were the big things. You can call the sex phone lines. Or I was really into the wrestling, so you could call the wrestling hotlines and talk to one of the wrestlers.
Would they do phone sex also?
Probably. I mean, I'm sure they would do whatever. They were. I've watched those A&E biography ones. Not
I wasn't
far
allowed to
off.
watch fucking wrestling as a kid. I was always resentful of my parents for that.
Yeah,
Too violent.
you weren't. Oh,
No Ninja Turtles, no
no Ninja Turtles
Power
either?
Rangers.
Oh, Ninja Turtles was my life. That and it was called the WWF when I grew up, and then they had to change it because the World Wildlife Federation had copyrighted the name. But I grew up with WWF. Had my own ring. Had all the wrestlers. Actually, in high school, we were so obsessed with wrestling that we created our own backyard wrestling, but not like we were doing it like showmanship stuff. Like there were
Yeah.
plot lines, and there's a website. One kid built a website for it, and I was 2-time champ, Mr. X. So not to brag. The news did a story on us because the neighbors kept calling the cops on us because we had so many people who would come to watch. Because there's nothing to do in our town. That's how small our town was. And the cops would, but my friend's parents were there. They were home. They knew we were doing this.
Yeah.
And so the news came and did a story on how there was nothing for us to do, and so we made our own
Wrestling.
and we like showed them the moves and how we did it, and it was
That's
interesting.
awesome.
I was like, yeah, it's funny. Yeah, I was always into that kind of performative stuff, so I get so surprised that I did a lot of acting and stuff growing up. Did you ever do any acting or anything?
I wanted to,
School
but I
plays.
was kind of a pussy. I
Yeah.
did try out for the Slippery Rock musical when I was 19.
Yeah.
I didn't end up performing in the musical, but I auditioned and I got
you go.
in.
I was the Lion in the Wizard of Oz in high school.
Hell yeah. That's my dad's favorite movie.
Oh yeah. Yep, that was my big claim to fame. I enjoyed that. Was my probably the biggest role I had. I did a lot. I did like the lights for like the shows and stuff when I wasn't stuff I was in. But I took like tap lessons and singing lessons and acting lessons when I was real young as like an activity. We had a friend who owned a dinner theater, and he gave lessons to kids. He had a studio, so I used to take all the classes, and
That's awesome.
yeah, it was kind of cool. So and I did a lot of the dinner theater shows when I was younger, and
Wow.
you know, had my big solo was the little drummer boy. But it was fun. I liked being in like the green room with all the actors, and like it was cool, like the camaraderie of all that. And I see a lot of that now in comedy, and it reminds me of that time. And I'm like, oh, that was cool. It's like a family away from your family.
Yeah.
I've had so many friends that I've met in comedy that feel more like family because I can feel like I could be real around them. Or,
Yeah,
you know.
100%.
which we all need that because we can't help. You can't help people that can't be more than that. And the same way I can't wish my daughter to just be neurotypical. I can't, the same way you can't wish your brother to just be like. People are who they are. I think some.
Yeah.
There's. I feel like a lot of it's like you ever took the girls to Disney and they have a motor car ride, and the kids can ride it because it's on this. There's a bar in the center, so you can never really go too far off the rails, unless you take mushrooms, and then I think you can go way off the rails and go through a door. But other than that, but I think like I really see life as like kind of like for the most part, you can only tether so far to one direction or the other, and so people have the ability to change, but I think we all have a ceiling of what's what we're able
Possible.
to do. Yeah, I think so. Okay, expecting huge changes from people is just gonna probably lead to disappointment more often than not. But if you can get to an acceptable thing where at least you guys able to you're able to interact or appreciate what you do have, then that's really all anybody can ask for. I read a book recently, and by read I mean I listened to it on a car ride, and it was called The Four Agreements. And it was
Oh fuck! I think they they talked about that a lot in rehab.
oh, did they?
Yeah.
That would make sense. My therapist had recommended it or had talked about it, and she runs some drug and alcohol rehab groups, I think. And so she was mentioning it, and it was interesting because as the four agreements are: be impeccable with your words.
Don't take anything personal.
Don't take any personal. Don't make assumptions.
Wait, what's the
and,
first one?
always
Tell the truth.
Always do your best.
Oh, do your best, yeah.
Regardless of if there's a reward or some extrinsic value. Just do your best. Do your best because you want to do your best. And I was like, that all makes sense. And whenever I'm not in harmony with myself, it's because I've done. Normally, it's the three. I'm always trying to do my best, but so I'm not impeccable with my words. I don't choose the right words to communicate how I'm feeling to whoever I'm interacting with, my daughter, my mom, my wife, whoever, the students in my class. And then, or I take it personally if my daughter acts a certain way that I didn't want her to act in public, or my wife, is not feeling well because she hurt her foot and I want her to be cheery and happy and she's in pain. So I take that, whenever you do, it's so funny because it's they're so simple, but we're so trained to live this collective society's dream, because that's the whole concept, is that we're at odds with the dream that society is creating versus our own dream, and how we should really be able to live our dream and not get put into this combine of societies, because then you're always playing the victim, or the judge and the victim were something they mention a lot in the book, and that's how I feel. I was judging myself because I was assuming other people were going to think that. So I might, in the same way I made the assumption that the waitresses were talking about my daughter the other day. I don't know that, but I was making an assumption, right? So it's I see anytime I'm out of sync, it's because it's one of those three things is happening. I'm either wasn't clear with how I was speaking, I wasn't, I was taking it personally, or I was making an assumption, and it's really that simple.
Yeah.
That's the key to life.
I take certain things personally, and I gotta get over that.
Yeah, it's just it's hard. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not easy, but it's in the moment, you just gotta be all right, listen, I'm doing my best. All I know is I'm doing my best. That's their journey. I'm just gonna put it away and not think about it. And there's always something you can do. I like to just do something in the moment. There's always dishes in the sink, so I can always go take a moment and wash the dishes. Or there's always laundry that needs to be folded, or sometimes just putting on a podcast or putting on a song.
Yeah.
And taking 5 minutes to do that.
Yeah, sometimes I'll do chores
there's always something to be done. And just do it for 5 minutes, and and then go watch some Dance Moms. You know, that's pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
I told that on stage last night at work. I was like, yeah, my wife's been messing with me because she saw that I was watching Dance Moms on purpose. Like I put it on, and then I was like, then she had my daughters making comments about it. Daddy, are you watching Dance Moms? I'm like, listen, relax. I was like, I don't know if I'm a good dad, but I make one hell of a mom.
That's good.
It was my wife, like, she got me cucumber lemon hard seltzers, and I'm like, all right. I mean, they were delicious, and I drank them
Sounds
all. But
pretty good.
yeah, they did. Yeah, they were. But that's going back to our first conversation in the beginning. Is like, I never felt like I fit in the mold of what I was supposed to. Oh, I never was in a mold. I mean, I never met anybody that grew up with a family like I did in a time like I did, so I just assumed, but I didn't realize that I think when you're young, you don't realize that at first, you know? You think everybody's having the same experience as you,
Yeah.
and they're not at all.
Yeah.
And then you feel like you're an imposter, and then you're trying to be a chameleon and blend in, and
Yeah.
it's exhausting to do that. Because then you're lying. You're not being impeccable with your words if you're lying.
Yeah.
You know? So I lived my life not being, I thought I was being impeccable. I was being careful with my words, but I was doing it to manipulate and lie because I was afraid of what they would think or what they would say.
Yeah. Same.
That's no way. It's no way to live.
No.
You know?
I'm pretty honest with my friends, just not these three people to our left.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I feel
I
like
think
that
two
way
of them are outside, like,
I feel like
burying
that
a
way as a
body. I don't know
teacher.
what that noise has been this whole time.
Yeah. I feel that way as a teacher. Like, I can't be 100% honest with my students. Like, my dad lives in Spain and is married to a guy from Spain. But, like, I would feel weird mentioning all of that, even though I'm in a Spanish class and I'm in Spain. And so I have to, like, leave out details when I recount stories of being in Spain, or I have to, like, you know, be very
careful.
vague.
Yeah.
And I hate that because a part of me is like, I don't want to have to do that, but like at the same time, I also only get 45 minutes with these kids, and I don't want to derail the conversation about Spain to, is my dad a top or a bottom, you know?
Yeah.
Which I don't want to know the answer to that, but I'm pretty sure I do know. But yeah. That was what I was joking about him, like, because he's married to a guy in Spain, and I'm like, oh, that's giving 90 Day Fiance energy, you know? But they actually met 20-some years ago on AOL.
Yeah.
Yeah, they met on AOL 2.0 with so like when the internet came out, so did they, you know?
I like that a lot.
Then I added a tag yesterday that it took them a minute, but I was like, he got mail. And they took a minute, and they're like, "Oh, male as in a guy." It's like you can hear the crowd. Like it was one of those slow burns. And I was a line somebody pitched me. They're like, "Oh, he got mail." I'm like, "Yeah, he did get mail."
It's like Tom Hanks in that movie.
Yeah. Oh, that's how AOL. Whenever back in the day when you would first get because it took forever to sign on, and then when you'd sign on, it would go through the. And then you've got mail, and like as soon as you signed on, that was the next phrase that would be said if you successfully got on.
I was around for the beginning of that.
Yeah,
I remember you got mail.
because I remember I would have been in 8th grade at the time, so you must have been like 3 years old when like AOL 2.0, like when the first iteration of it came up. You know, because I really remember being in the AOL, like, it wasn't really the internet yet, it was just chat rooms. Mm-hmm. So it was a lot of full-on group chat rooms.
Yeah.
And then DMs, and that was pretty much the state of it. And then you'd have, you know what ASL means?
American Sign Language?
No. Oh, yeah, see, you're young. ASL is what you would immediately message somebody. Age, sex, location.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've heard of that now that you say that.
So that was the 90s AOL, like that first iteration of it. That was that whole piece of, yeah. It's funny because even with my students now, like, because they're like 15, so like it's like references now are so different, and it's like, you know, I have to be careful of like when I make analogies, because sometimes I'll talk about stuff or reference something and I'm like, oh, they have no idea. But with YouTube and other things, like, you know, they could watch older movies, and if it's a classic or whatever, they'll.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, dude, I didn't realize how long we've been talking.
Oh shit! How long has it been?
It's been a while.
An hour and 23 minutes.
How long do you usually do your episodes?
This is about usually it.
Oh, okay.
Do you want to keep going, or that's up to you?
Now, do you
I've
have
been
anything?
kind of tired.
Yeah.
This is really good, though.
Yeah, no, that was great. It was good to just get to chat and talk. You know, it was.
I appreciate you coming on. Thank you so much.
Yeah, there's no. I love it. Who was the last person you had on?
I recorded one episode in the last 2 months, and it was with Kirk Griffiths,
Oh, I love Kirk.
like yesterday.
Nice.
So,
He's
you and him
good.
are the only people right now.
He's a good dude. I like him.
And I might get Sheed on soon.
She's.
Eddie Daniels.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen Eddie in forever. How's he been?
He's been good.
Yeah.
Last time I saw him, he's selling his shirts.
Oh,
Fuck, I forget what they're called. Some Unique Laughter. Buy his shirts. Buy
yeah.
Eddie's shirts.
That's awesome. Yeah, he's great. I don't go to POV a ton, and I don't even know if he does as much either. But
Not usually, no.
try to get out there on Mondays when I can. So yeah, dude. Well, this was great. Thanks for having me. I
Of
appreciate
course.
it.
Plug all your stuff.
Oh yeah. So follow me at Yoder Comedy, jyodercomedy.com, and yeah, come see a show. Come hang out. And I have a podcast myself called Seriously Dad Podcast with Albert Davis. We're actually doing a live show February 15th, day after Valentine's Day at Soul Joel's.
Hell yeah.
So get your tickets and come hang out. Let's party.
Hell yeah. Board Teachers Comedy Tour.
Yeah, Board Teachers. I'm on January 15th. I'm at Santander Performing Arts Center,
Hell yeah.
which should be pretty cool. And then, yeah, so hopefully some more dates in 2025.
Hell yeah.
And hopefully I can stop teaching.
I hope that for you as soon as possible.
That would be nice. Yep. One can hope. We'll see what 2025 has to bring. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, folks. Thank you for listening to the Pink Hoodie Podcast. Thank you, Jay. Appreciate you, man.
Dude, always a great time.
Have a good one, man.
Late.
Bye-bye.
Pink Hoodie Podcast. Pink Hoodie Podcast. Pink Hoodie Podcast. You're listening to the Pink Hoodie Podcast. You're listening to the Pink Hoodie Podcast. You're listening to the Pink Hoodie Podcast. You are now tuned in with Tyler Wagger. Hold up. Pink Hoodie. Tyler Wagger. Hold up. Pink Hoodie. Tyler Wagger. Yeah. Pink Hoodie. It's the Pink Hoodie Podcast. Pink Hoodie. It's the Pink Hoodie Podcast. Tune in to the Pink Hoodie Podcast with Tyler Wagger.